scary. Yes, Halloween in Guild Wars 1 was so scary. So there you go, that's the other trailer, guys. As I promised yesterday, we would get to see. It's a bit longer than the first year's one, but I suppose to an extent that was because ArenaNet had added some extra stuff and they kind of wanted to show it off. It shocks me how just the sheer amount of candy corn people there are there. Really, I have no real memories of there being that many players there in the festivals, and it's weird because I did experience, especially the 2006 festivals, but maybe it was as time went on, they just became less and less active with players. I mean, lots of people still logged on, certainly, even now. If you go into Guild Wars 1, you'll see a lot of people there in the festivals for the original game, but I don't know, it just seems like it was so much more fun back then, but maybe that's just my mind playing tricks on me and nostalgia interfering with things. In any case, on this topic, may as well quickly highlight it. Guild Wars 1's Halloween is starting tomorrow. It's starting on Friday, so that's actually kind of nice how it doesn't entirely overlap with the Guild Wars 2 holiday, which starts on Monday, as far as I'm aware, for Halloween. So you can kind of go in, experience the Guild Wars 1 holiday, and because the finale isn't necessary for hats this year, you can kind of get most of it except for the Mad King's arrival, and then go into Guild Wars 2 and fully experience and enjoy both, I suppose, if you really wanted to. And I guess that's probably deliberate. It reminds me a little bit of a while ago, we thought that Guild Wars 2 was going to launch on one of the birthdays of Guild Wars 1, and some of the early birthdays as well. We thought, oh, it'll be on the 5th anniversary, no, it'll be on the 6th anniversary, oh, it'll be on the 7th anniversary, and then of course it came out after the 7th anniversary, but I was almost expecting it to be the 8th. I still kind of think Guild Wars 2 launched really early for when a lot of us were expecting it, for better or for worse. Anyway, hello everybody and welcome to Guild Wars 2 Daily. That was a lot talking before I actually did an intro. For official news, got two main things really. First of all, NCSoft tweeted just a couple of hours ago actually to remind people that ArenaNet are actually hiring. I almost feel stupid mentioning this on this show, but that is some news that's come out. If you do fancy working at ArenaNet, you're around the Seattle area, they are hiring. They've got loads of positions going. In particular though, NCSoft said that they had multiple positions for web development jobs, so hey, if you've got the balls to do it. I mean, it's a company that I would have loved to have worked at like a couple of years ago, but something I'd never have the balls to actually do or feel like I could actually go there. Now that I've worked in IT and I've actually got qualifications, I did look a few months ago at, oh look, they're actually hiring for IT staff, maybe I should do that, but there's a big difference moving from where I currently am to Seattle, and there'd be all kinds of visa stuff. But in any case, they are actually hiring, and maybe one of you actually wants to go and have a look. Another bit of news, this wasn't really collected by me. It kind of makes me regret that I don't spend that much time on the official forums, and I'm probably going to change that quite soon. I did spend a while reading dev posts and stuff on those forums, but quite often it wasn't very rewarding for the amount of information you actually get out of them. However, it does seem they're a pretty good source of information for just extra stuff from the devs, which I probably need to keep up to date with. I mentioned this because Neo Nugget, this has really got nothing to do with me, but Neo Nugget, one of the admins over on Guild Wars 2 Guru, compiled a post yesterday with loads of quotes from the ArenaNet devs themselves over on their forums about next week's Halloween stuff. And in fact, some of it will make me eat my words from yesterday. I'll read out the quotes for you guys since there's not that much and it's pretty enlightening, and I wouldn't want to paraphrase or anything or put a weird spin on it because of my own biases or speculation. So the first quote's from Colin Johansson. This was on the 4th of October, quite a while ago. There is more than just Halloween coming in October. What those things are, you'll just have to wait and see. Keep an eye on our website and blog for more information in the coming weeks. So clearly October's going to have more things than just this Halloween festival. But don't confuse that with this next quote from Colin on October 13th, who said all of the additions in this Shadow of the Mad King release, except for the Halloween holiday stuff itself, will permanently stay in the game. If you want to catch the Halloween stuff, you're going to want to make sure you're here for the holiday festival. It comes in acts, so check on a regular basis over the course of the week after the release goes live. So there's two bits of information here that seem kind of similar, but they're not actually the same. So first of all, he's saying that they're having a big release called the Shadow of the Mad King, which will come out in acts, and the content that is released through the Shadow of the Mad King will be permanently in-game, except the specific holiday stuff that will only be running through the festival. Okay, that was the second quote. And on top of that, we've also heard that there's more than just Halloween coming in October. So this could mean a couple of things, but most importantly, it could mean that we have all this stuff going in the Shadow of the Mad King release, which could be permanently in the game, and outside of that too, in October, there are other things coming as well on top of it. Or it could mean that there's going to be a whole bunch of... coming on top of it as well. So pretty exciting all around. Either way you look at it, really, we're going to be getting a lot of stuff. So another quote from Regina on the 17th. She says, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things regarding Costume Brawl and some concerns we've seen. So this is where I get to eat my words. Yay, if I'd only read this before filming yesterday's episode, I might be in a different position. She said, it might be called the Costume Brawl, but it's not like the Costume Brawl in the original Guild Wars. She also says, while it does take advantage of gem store related items, I'm not sure where people heard this from, players will still be able to participate in Costume Brawl even without spending gems. So, first of all, I guess what people are concerned about is that the Costume Brawl is coming back, but it's only going to be fun or viable or whatever if you're spending money in the gem store. It's just some kind of a cash grab from ArenaNet. I don't believe that for a second. Yes, I can see why it makes sense for them to integrate it with the gem system, but honestly, for all the complaining, all the worry that everyone had all the way through the game's development about the microtransaction system, for all that worrying, it's actually proved to be very fair, and I haven't seen any complaints about it now that the game's live. All this stuff about, oh, you're going to be able to buy gold, or they're ruining the economy, blah, 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 it all ended up just fine. So I think, again, this is just a knee-jerk reaction. People hear gems and they're like, oh, this has got to be terrible, and I'm not expecting it to be bad at all. But the main thing is that it's not like the Costume Brawl in the original Guild Wars, so I'm not sure what the difference is, how they're still calling it Costume Brawl, so there must be some similarity, right? Maybe it is just that cosmetic similarity in that we'll be dressing up as other characters. She does say, as a teaser, think boxing gloves, but taking up a few more notches. So, yeah, I can see maybe we'll be just equipping something that does perhaps give us different skills. It might not be PvP. That might be the main thing about this. It just might be a PvE experience for Guild Wars 2. Or if it is PvP, there's going to have to be some other significant change there that sets it apart so significantly she's had to come out and say, oh no, it's not like the Costume Brawl from Guild Wars 1. Maybe it's just that it's going to be a straight up deathmatch and the whole capturing territories and earning points system won't be there. But even then, I doubt they'd feel the need to come out and say it's not like in Guild Wars 1. So yeah, that throws pretty much everything I said yesterday out of the question. Well, a fair bit of what I said out of the question. But yeah, it's in a weird way made me a little bit more excited about what they could be doing with the Costume Brawl in Guild Wars 2. I just hope it's more fun, I suppose, than the Guild Wars 1 Costume Brawl, which might be hard to do because I do remember that very fondly. I used to very much enjoy playing that. She does say we'll have more details about the Costume Brawl soon, so stay tuned. That was 2 days ago. Again, I'm still kind of expecting something to come out tomorrow on Friday, but only time will tell. Again, thanks very much to Neo Nugget for that. That was all him. He did that on the main forums. All I'm literally doing is reading off of Guild Wars 2 Guru. One last bit of news. It's not official news, this really, but tomorrow is Pink Day in LA. I found it quite funny, actually, that this is coming so close to Halloween. This is a returning thing from Guild Wars 1. It's to do with breast cancer research, and it's a community-run event that was pretty popular in Guild Wars 1, especially in the later years. ArenaNet even supported it themselves with their own specific updates. They released a certain type of dye to the game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe if ArenaNet throw their hat into the ring again for Guild Wars 2, unless they're too busy with other stuff. It is kind of maybe a bit of an inopportune time for them. But yeah, it's a big community event. If you're interested, it could be quite fun. It was always very fun in Guild Wars 1. The community events were great in that game. I'm sure that they'll be back in full force for this one. You can find a link in the description for lots of details about it down below, and hopefully I'll be there too, just as someone participating and enjoying myself as anyone else. But yeah, in case you hadn't heard of it, there you go, because that's the main thing about community events. People just don't hear or know that they're going on. They're just sort of wandering around the world and see that something's happening, and they never realised before. But yeah, that's tomorrow, and you can find a link in the description. I've got 2 questions here to answer for today, again, because I'm not going for a legendary at the moment. Though, having said that, while I was playing today, I did kind of get quite excited about it, because I was kind of gambling. The guy that's doing the art for the channel at the moment showed me about selling dyes and stuff, and it was a lot of fun, actually. I ended up getting a reasonable amount of money, so I might go for a legendary sooner rather than later. But in any case, I really don't have any updates on that, aside from, hey, I've got 100% map completion, and I'm almost on 200k karma, but I've got a long way to go. So instead, we'll do 2 questions. The first one's from Zallen, who says, hey WP, ever since the game launched, I've barely seen anyone using the feature that lets you replace Guild Wars 2 music with their own. So I was wondering why did this feature go so unnoticed? I see what you did there, Zallen. See, now I'm telling people about it. Yeah, if this went over your head, you can press start, you can go to documents, I'm doing it right now, then you can go to Guild Wars 2, and then you'll find a folder there in your documents library called music. Now, by placing music in that folder, you can have your own custom playlists going in-game, and it can be anything you want it to be. There's no restrictions. It's a cool feature, but this is a kind of an interesting question. Why aren't people using it? I don't think maybe it's so much that people don't know it exists. For me, I know it's there. I know it's a cool feature, but it will probably be a long time before I start taking advantage of it, if ever. And the main reasons for that are, for music in game for me is quite important because that's kind of how I build memories from games that I play. I listen to the in-game music quite a lot in games. I know a lot of people tire of it very fast. I don't. I actually like to listen to it, even if it's the same track I've heard like 50 times before. If it's a track that only plays in a specific place, as you get in Guild Wars, you get certain music that will only play in the Shiver Peach, you get certain music that will only play in Kryta. You've got that very specific track that will be playing in the Heart of the Mist and so forth. If it's music that I can always kind of associate with one specific thing in the game, I like to listen to it. I like to get it really entrenched somewhere in my mind because I love the feeling, honestly, of putting a game down for a few years, maybe forgetting you ever played it, and then somehow, at some point, it could be years later, you listen to that music and you're just filled with nostalgia. That's the best way to remember an old game, the music that used to play during it. And I went through a little while where I was playing games and not listening to any of the in-game music that was going on in them at all, and I feel like I'm missing out now because I kind of don't build those memories in the same way. I don't have that thing that will catch me off guard and think, oh yeah, I remember that game. So I made a very conscious decision to continue listening to the Guild Wars 1 music. I haven't muted it. It's a little bit more quiet for the LP so that it doesn't overpower my voice, so my other accounts have got a reduced music volume. But while I'm typically playing the game for myself, I love to have the music there, and that will probably remain that way for a long time. As soon as you start adding other music in particular music that has nothing to do with the game, for example, I feel like it cheapens that experience. And the other main thing as well that I think is probably more significant for everyone else who doesn't kind of think so much about the nostalgia, which might be a bit stupid. The other thing is, if I want to listen to some other music, right, if I want to listen to a specific band, if I'm not in the mood to listen to some kind of atmospheric music that's done by Jeremy Soule, for example, like one typical thing would be to add a load of Jeremy Soule music into that folder because he did the music for Guild Wars 2 as well as the first game and the Elder Scrolls. It all kind of blends in together, and while that's a nice idea, a lot of people are probably, if they don't want to listen to the actual game music, it's because they want to listen to other music from completely different genres, from bands that they like. And if they're going to do that, then rather than have it play seemingly randomly in amongst a playlist of loads of other weird scenic Guild Wars 2 stuff, they're just going to play a CD or put it on YouTube. And that's the same for me. If I really don't want to be listening to it, then I'll just have something on in another window rather than in that folder. So I think this feature only really targets a very specific group of people that just want to enhance the range of music that's there in Guild Wars 2 right now. And then if you want to do that, then you have to try and find music that actually is fitting to the atmosphere of the game, and that in itself can be a little bit of a chore. I don't really know of any resources out there online at the moment where people have said, hey, here's the music that I'm using, what music are you using, and kind of comparing. It's just a bit of a hassle, and I think that's probably what stops most people from doing it, even though it is this cool option that's available to us. And well, for the rest of us, if it is just because you didn't know existed, now you do, and you can have fun with it. The second question for today is from EloKiller2, who said, hey WP, I just had a quick question regarding Krakatorik's origins. In Guild Wars 1, there was a weird mountainous formation in the centre of a lake in the Char homelands. I've heard from many people that figure was Krakatorik in his slumber, and I just wanted to hear your opinion. Is that indeed Krakatorik, or is it something totally different? And if it is Krakatorik, does Guild Wars 1 reference him at all? Also, in Guild Wars 2, are we able to go to this location? In Guild Wars 2, we can't go to that location. That's in the Blood Legion homelands, which you'll see far to the north of Ascalon. It's not available in Guild Wars 2 as it stands. Now, is this Krakatorik? It's an interesting question. I think people take it for granted that it is Krakatorik. There is not actually anything in Guild Wars 1 that stated this is Krakatorik. We had something that clearly looks like a dragon up there, and if you ask me, honestly, I think it probably was Krakatorik, but it's very possible to play devil's advocate here and say there's no confirmation, because there's not. And things do get thrown slightly into doubt when you do have lore that pretty much says, oh, everyone thought this was a mountain. It was a mountain that moved. There's a very specific visual image of when he woke up and flew off that you're given, I believe, in Edge of Destiny, that pretty much talks about how it's a moving mountain. And that thing we see in Guild Wars 1, it's not so much of a mountain. I guess it kind of looks a bit like a mountain, but then it all becomes very subjective. And I feel like there's a little bit of a discussion to be had here, just because we never specifically heard this is Krakatorik. Another point of interest too is if you look at the Guild Wars 2 map, the brand, the land that was scarred as Krakatorik flew over the top of it, the brand doesn't actually start at the location where we saw the supposed sleeping Krakatorik in Guild Wars 1. It starts much further south than that. So again, there's that suggestion there, well, maybe it wasn't Krakatorik that was on the hills. But the fact is, when ArenaNet released Eye of the North, they did put in lots of hints about the Elder Dragons around the landscape. There was obviously a very blatant reference to Prime Order. So the game ends with him opening his eyes, and you can quite clearly see that that's him. I don't think there's any discussion to be had there. But they also put this weird thing that people say could be Krakatorik in the Char homelands, and they also put Drakkar or Jormag or whatever you want to call it in a frozen lake in the far Shiver Peaks too. And again, there's discussion about that. We had devs saying, no, this isn't the dragon, it's probably a champion. But then when you get in game now, you can actually see that someone says, oh, he woke up in this lake, and it all gets a little bit confusing. It's deliberately vague though. It adds that little bit of intrigue, and especially for those first players of Eye of the North that were excited about the prospect, all these different directions Guild Wars 2 could go in. They had these weird things in the landscape to look at and and ore over. I don't really think it's that important in the grand scheme of things until maybe we get to the point where we're fighting Krakatorik, and I've said this like 3 times in a row, but when he could possibly fly back up there, maybe then it will become slightly more significant. But even then, that's a leap. He might not do that. We might just kill him in the Crystal Desert and never have any reason ever to go to the Blood Legion homelands, and it will never come up again. But we'll see eventually. I think we will go to the Blood Legion homelands, and at that point we'll be able to walk over to that area where this weird spiky mounting thing once was and see whether it's there or not anymore. And if it is still there, then that could be quite interesting to me, honestly. But yeah, there's the question, if it's not Krakatorik, then what is it? Because it certainly did look very weird, though the Char that were there certainly didn't seem to care. I'll say that much, or none of the monsters and things around there. Whatever it was, it's been there for a long time. It kind of fits into Krakatorik. My general impression is that it was Krakatorik. There's nothing that says that the brand had to have started as soon as he woke up. Maybe he flew south a little bit and then kind of turned on the brand magic or whatever. But that's my general impression. The question is, though, obviously, why was he up in the north? And it doesn't matter whether he was that specific thing we saw in Guild Wars 1 or not when we're addressing that question, because we know he was somewhere around there, which is whether that's specifically, we don't know. That was Guild Wars 2 Daily for today. Thanks very much for watching, guys. The footage in the background should have been World vs. World stuff. I did enjoy World vs. World last week, so hopefully I'll have enjoyed it this week too. Also, I should be using Scepter Dagger this week, which honestly I've not used very much, but I don't want people thinking I'm some kind of crazy Dagger fanboy. I do want to try other things. I'm not sure how good the build really was working, but I'll say one thing for World vs. World that I find more fun than anything else: looking at consumables, food in particular, and how they can tie into your build for World vs. World. It's just fantastic, because food is so powerful in this game. It adds a whole other dimension. If you're looking at just creating builds for World vs. World, you can do some really interesting stuff when it comes to food. In fact, I'll put another link in the description too. Something I saw on Reddit the other day. Someone had compiled a lot of the food in a really nice kind of list specifically for that, which I've been using. So if you want to be in future footage, you can follow me on Twitter, and I'll be announcing each day when I'm heading on out there. I think that's it, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. I should probably just take it as a given at this point that as soon as I've finished rendering Daily, a show about Guild Wars 2 news, ArenaNet will then release the news for the day just after I've finished. I really wanted to put out this quick update just to tack on to the end of Daily, because when I recorded that, none of this new information had come out. ArenaNet have just, if you're not aware, released a new video about Halloween in Guild Wars 2, plus given us plenty more information about the event as it continues. So in Daily, I mentioned that Halloween will be released in 4 acts. You can see on this website, of which you'll find a link in the description down below, all 4 of those acts listed out there. However, they've all got padlocks on them right now, which say that the secrets aren't ready to be revealed yet. You wouldn't want to spoil the surprise, would you? Some things are better left a mystery. You should never read the last chapter first. So they've clearly got 4 very distinct updates that will be coming out to the game. Updates to the festival as it continues on. The first one starts on October 22nd. Act 2 is on October 26th. Act 3 is on October 28th. And Act 4 is on October the 31st. This is incredibly similar to the way they did festivals, to tell you the truth, in the first game, which would first see towns be decorated, for example, then we would see the addition of festive items, then the addition of quests, and then finally on the last day some kind of special finale event. In the case of Halloween, that would be Mad King Thorn actually coming from the underworld to give us our special hat. Aside from the acts, so this page has actually got some other interesting information. Let me read to you, let me indulge you. 500 years ago, a tyrannical Crichton king was slain by his own people, those who had suffered greatly during his reign of lunacy. It said that this king's body was chopped into pieces and his spirit was banished to the underworld, but that he can return to the mortal realm just for 1 day a year on Halloween. Of course, that's just an old folktale, isn't it? It's been 250 years since the last alleged sighting of Mad King Thorn's spirit, and today Halloween is safely celebrated by children and merchants all across Tyria. But strange energies are rising under the autumn moon. Is there perhaps some truth to the old stories? Do you dare to find out what's really going on. So yeah, there's actually this extra bit of story here. Apparently he hasn't been about for 250 years. He's not been coming out each day. So that'll be interesting to find out why exactly that's happening. Some of the more exciting stuff for this, honestly, I didn't think I'd hear myself saying this, comes from their news about what's going on with the Black Lion Trading Company. There are going to be 6 exclusive Halloween-themed weapons that you can only get by exclusive. I presume they mean you can only get them for this festival and then they'll be gone, which you can get out of the Black Lion chests. You've always got a chance of getting these, and they've put an image of a bloody chainsaw as one of the weapons. Not sure what the 6 weapons will be. Obviously there are more than 6 weapons in Guild Wars 2, but one of them's a chainsaw at least, which has got me very excited. Also, they say that all kinds of tricks and treats are coming to the gem store. Costumes that grant spooky skills, tonics that transform you into ghouls and ghosts, creepy crawly minis to follow you around. I like to see that there's new minis going in, and don't forget to pick up your free devil horns before they disappear. I'm guessing the devil horns are going to be like the hat for Guild Wars 2 for this year. But yeah, so plenty of information on Halloween. Almost completely missed it, but I'm just going to update daily with this here now. So there you go, guys. There'll be a link, again, another link in the description for you to check that out. It's really exciting, actually. I'll talk more about it tomorrow, probably. See you next time.